through my association with the Crimson Circle and hearing it described by the entities channeled through Jeffrey Hoppe, specifically the one called Tobias. He explained how he visits this little boy frequently, and then when the time is right, this entity will fully focus its consciousness in this little boy, and it will get to live the one perfect incarnation on Earth that it always wanted. It kept incarnating, like in the book of Tobit, and full of, trauma, drama, manipulations, teachings, all of that. It just wanted one simple life on Earth as its last incarnation. And I'm like, oh, this is where all the past life stuff comes from. And I had learned about walk-ins and how that happens, at traumatic moments and things like that. And gee, how easy it would be to do at the moments of our birth when we are traumatized, with needles and whatever else. And then I have to rectify that, which tells me there is no reincarnation as is commonly taught. Which I'm not saying absolutely not. I'm saying I don't know, but I'm very cautious and leery about what I would believe about this. So I have to rectify this with the idea that it is said throughout Scripture, of so-and-so, that they were there at the beginning. They were, with and of and became. That, Elijah has to come first. Prophets of old, are they being reincarnated? Are they manifesting from the non-physical into the physical? What's happening here? So it was just given to me a moment ago. I had a sense of it before, but I didn't have the illustration to fully cognate what was meant. Like a tree drops seeds and those seeds grow into trees, but they were all part of that tree. And the easiest thing to compare it to is a lump of dough. You cut it in half, you make 2 loaves. But both those loaves will have been that original dough. They will still have that same story of, I was, whatever kind of dough. I was yeast and milk and egg and flour, and I was kneaded and allowed to rise, and then kneaded again and rose again. And oh my goodness, look at that. Rising again. Here we go. So then you separate it into 2 loaves, and they both shared the same story from there. And a lot of people, they have like a starter yeast, and they name it. So all the bread that they make from there on is from that original starter. And so imagine this one starter, its life, its experiences are shared with every loaf of bread, every pizza crust, every anything that is made from it. And so that is how it could be that, I am of, coffee's ready, I am of so-and-so. I was there with so-and-so when this happened, but a unique personality in this life experience. And so I had gotten my own story of creation. I was made aware of the instigating event that would have caused physical creation, the Big Bang. And I got a sense of how everything happened, became chaotic and things like that. So we were all at some point a part of that original dough. And so depending on where we sprouted off of that dough, how much forgetfulness was involved, that would determine how much knowledge we can bring into our life experience. So, genetic memory, they say it's stored in our genes. And so we carry original core wounds, homelessness, abandonment, for some people, a fear of drowning, flood memory. So we can carry knowledge and understanding of how our ancestors dealt with things, handled things, practiced things. Maybe we could say, oh, I was a witch in another life. Or it could be that your genetic memory includes the ancestors that practice witchcraft. You were so-and-so. I mean, how many people they go and their past life they were Cleopatra. So I know that the popular idea of a past life is questionable. And I know, because I was told by these disembodied spirits, how their reincarnation happens. And in other ways, I learned how a lot of them were wizards who split their spirit and their soul intentionally using magic and metaphysics so that they could reincarnate with their memory fully intact and would not have to relinquish their power and authority that their practices brought them, so they could carry all of that with them and continue to rule the world in a very corrupt way. Like, that's all like the, oh man, that's all that comes out of me. So this is what is given to me to understand about the whole reincarnation issue. Now, last year, it was the 2023-2024 season. My life, where I was you had the summer and then you had the season. Because the summer was truly living in the place. That's what made you a resident of the place. Over 120 degrees. You survived the summer. You can identify as being from there. And then the winter season was when other people would come into the community, they'd be celebrating, and you could finally live. So I'll see things when I'm on the edge of sleep. And I was shown two things that you could say they were kind of like medallions. They looked like medallions. Not that they were, but they were shaped like the texture was carved out of wood, and they had symbols on them, and there would have been like a triangle at the top, and you could, like, as if you could put a thread through there. And one of them was broken on the top. And then a little while later, I was shown a wheel, and then those two medallion type things were on either side of the wheel, and the wheel would spin, and whatever was revealed in those triangular openings was, whatever was to happen, like the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, there we go. And then I was working for somebody, and I was walking home, and I suddenly got the awareness, I broke the wheel of karma. Okay. Now, I know it's not me. I experience oneness. And other people, they'll channel entities, so their consciousness recedes, and some of them will say that they can kind of see what's going on, but they don't remember the words that are said and things like that. They're pushed to the background, and entities take over. I made a vow that was never going to happen to me. There is no speaking in tongues. There is no possession of any kind. No. I will always be the one who decides what comes out this mouth. Which, of course, in a fear-based culture, and, it happens. Things come out, and you regret it. But the beliefs, were influenced. So I am aware when I'm experiencing oneness and hearing as if it is my own voice, another entity's voice. So I didn't okay, you broke the wheel of karma, good. I'm not sure that I believed in, I wasn't into reincarnation. I wasn't into karma, which was the motivator for reincarnation. And I had read Siddhartha about the Buddha, I think it was. But in the beginning, the introduction explained that the religion was to permanently get off the wheel of karma and go back into the soup, not be individualized. So basically it was metaphysical suicide. The whole intention of Buddhism was metaphysical suicide. I wasn't feeling particularly suicidal, so I didn't really get into it. I was like, okay, nope. So I'm very ignorant about, the karma and the reincarnation thing. But now that I'm going and learning more about Judaism, they're very big on reincarnation. Especially the Nephilim, who became disembodied spirits at the flood. And so they would reincarnate, possess bodies. That was the only way they could have a body. And they were, the punishment, anytime they were subdued would be through drowning. So we have Noah and the flood. We have spirits being sent into pigs and sent into the ocean. King Solomon trapped them in a container, threw them in the ocean. They're just constantly being drowned, man. It's like, if you have an ancestor that was possessed by one of the Nephilim, you're going to have inherited a fear of drowning, obviously, as well as other people, human beings. So, like, everything just gets more complicated. Like, yes, the earth was full of evil, and so, yes, your ancestor, you could have ancestral memory of, no, your ancestor would have died. They wouldn't become disembodied spirits. But shoot, if your ancestor was on that ark, which reportedly all of us have that common ancestry, it would have been horrifying watching people drown, no matter how bad we thought they were. That animals, people, everything being... That's probably a very traumatic core wound that all of us carry. So now I'm going back into Judaism. Reincarnation is a belief that they hold. And so this is why this topic comes to me now at this point. And so that is the sum of it. Like a loaf of dough, divided up, on and on. We all were a part of that original lump of dough. And so, through our DNA, we will have memories or understandings of experiences and knowledge. And also, when I experience oneness with spirits, especially, so I was a victim of satanic ritual abuse when I was a child. When I experienced my awakening, the first time I became one with I am that I am, those spirits, they left. But because they were in me, I'm vibrating with them, they affected my DNA, I retained understandings, and I could tap into those understandings and find out where they came from. What is the memory? So the biggest one that was occupying, sharing my body, came out of Atlantis. Again, a flood. And as she left, and I followed the consciousness to another body, and it was being maintained while she was projecting her consciousness into me. Her body was being maintained by what we call the Greys, the Grey aliens. So we now know those are fallen angels. Yeah, we'll stick with fallen angels. So I had a sense and an experience with how spirits will occupy us and call it an incarnation, and retaining the memories of that person. The one from Atlantis, it turns out she was betrayed by her lover. He seduced her. His family and culture called them servants. And she says, no, slaves. Like, not she says, like, she's not talking to me, but her soul resonates with slave. And the one who was supposed to be her twin flame, we would both ascend together in this lifetime, admitted that he betrayed her and her father back in Atlantis. And then I got the sense of, they put her... Now this is how you separate when you're in Atlantis. This is how they would separate a spirit from its body. They put her in like a chamber and infused 1,000 lifetimes of fear into her. And so that was the betrayal. And she wasn't supposed to remember it. So figure, I as a child was growing up with all of this fear needing resolve and not knowing where it came from. But that's all over with. So this is my experience with reincarnation. This is the understanding that I was given. And in my mind, it makes sense that we would have memory of other lives and events from the past. I hope that made sense to those who are needing to hear it.